Welcome back. You're watching us here on Chartbusters. As promised, let's get chatting with the management of luxury watch retailer Ethos. It's entered into two partnerships right now. One is with a Swiss watchmaker, and the other one is Trilobe. We'll get chatting about the company's business prospects with these partnerships, etc. But let's get a few details out. Mr. Saboo, thank you for joining in. Just three questions to start with regards to these partnerships. One, what do these ranges start at? And for the European brand, how do you pronounce it? And thirdly, most importantly, how many watches do you intend to sell initially?
Right. So Speake-Marin is actually it was founded by a Britisher in UK, and now it's been taken over by a French lady who's a very passionate watchmaker herself, Christelle Rosnoble. It starts their initial range starts at about 12 to 13 lakhs. It goes on for their specialized watches all the way up to 50, 60 lakhs and more. But these are extremely specialized watches made in small quantities, very much sought after by collectors. And I'll tell you why it's important to bring these brands to India, even though the quantities that are going to be that we're going to sell are not going to be very high, because the production of these specialized watches is in a few hundreds a year worldwide, right? And they're produced by very specialized watchmakers based in Switzerland. Trilobe is another similar brand founded by a very passionate entrepreneur. And Trilobe actually won the Petit Aiguille Award at the Grand Prix de Horlogerie in Genève last month in October. That's a very amazing achievement for a relatively new watchmaker. And their watches are very well known for the customization that they do. Again, a small production worldwide, very much sought after by collectors. Why I think it's very important to bring these brands to India is that in India, the tradition and the passion for watch collecting and to collect watches made by specialist watchmakers is growing. And this is part of the whole culture of understanding the world of mechanical watches, where they are really purchased as collectibles to last for decades and generations, rather than only functionality of telling the time. And the price is really a function of the innovation in design, in the technology which they use in producing the specialized movements, and of course the uniqueness of the story behind it.
Right, we take that point, and suddenly for a moment, both Nigel and I felt that we are on a French channel as against an English TV channel. You know, Speake-Marin is how you pronounce it, if I got that right, and the other one was a long award that he gave. But Nigel, importantly, 13 to 15 lakh rupees is the starting range.
I just called for a chair, actually. You know, that is very, very high prices. But as you said, they're custom made and they're collector's items. We are using it on a day-to-day basis, so, you know, no collector items for us. But
you are interested in buying them, aren't you?
Mangalam. All right. Well, let's get back to the conversation, Mr. Saboo. Mr. Saboo, you know, the stock market perspective, they'll be looking to see what kind of targets do you have in mind for both these two brands you just spoke about. Some kind of a revenue incline, some kind of a quantity that you're looking at, maybe not in the coming year, maybe with 2025 in mind. Do you have a broad number that you're looking at in terms of business?
Also for building up a collective portfolio of brands that appeals to a wider group of watch buyers and collectors. And many of these are emerging brands in the universe of high watchmaking. And they're very interested to connect with Indian collectors. And we know that Indian collectors follow these brands which win the Grand Prix prizes in Geneva. And therefore, it actually starts to complete a collection of watchmaker brands that Ethos is putting together for Indian buyers. They no longer have to go to a Dubai or a London or a Paris or a Zurich to pick up these. They can pick up these in India itself. The volumes will be low. I mean, they make only a few hundred watches a year. So we will be very lucky to get an allocation of, you know, more than 20, 30 watches in a year. And there is a market for much more than that. But much more than the value it's going to add to our turnover, it's the value of the portfolio of brands that Ethos is putting together.
Point. So even if you get 20, 30 watches every year from both of these brands, assuming relatively higher average sales price as well. Could not be more than about 10 to 15 crores in terms of additional revenue. That's at the upper end. But, just wanted to understand, are your margins on these partnerships a lot more than the others, primarily because they're exclusive? You had intended to increase your exclusive brands as a proportion of your sales from 26% to around 28%, and going forward, say, over 30, 35 odd percent as well. Any inkling on where do you end this year with and maybe the next year?
I think this year we would be in the 28, 29%.
Right, I think there was an audio glitch out here. We'll probably try and repatch that connection with Mr. Saboo. This year will be around 28 to 29% from about 26, 27% what it was earlier. The long-term target for the company is to take it almost up to 37, 38 odd percent as well. But Nigel, a couple of 20, 30 watches which are being sold every year in India, he expects them to be sold every year. The average selling price, I mean, if the range starts from 12 to 13, the watches that someone like you would like would not be any less than 20, 25, right? So, I mean, that's just telling you how big the luxury market in India is.
You know, Mangalam, how practical I am today, right? And you hear about it all through the day. So that's definitely not in my range. But yeah, I mean, there's a big market out there. Collector's items, as he said, we make to, you're ordering specialized watches, tailor-made for you. Wow. I mean, people have, I think the urban India is doing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of things tailor-made as well, but they're definitely not watches, the shirts, etc. But you know what, Nigel, it's interesting because when the Mercedes CEO says that SIPs are eating into Mercedes sales, it will be good to hear, are SIPs eating into watch sales or not as well. But we'll just try and repatch that connection with Mr. Saboo. For the time being, just keep an eye out on the markets itself. The mid-caps are doing well. Okay, we have Mr. Saboo back again with us. So, Mr. Saboo, so you were saying that you aspire to end this year with 28 to 29% in terms of exclusive brand sales. Going forward, what's your target?
We believe over the next couple of years, this should increase to about 35%. And it's true, we do enjoy greater margins on exclusive brands. So it should help in the overall weighted average of gross margin. But as I said, completing a portfolio of independent brands equal to the best retailers in the world, that makes Ethos one of the best as well. And that's very important for our strategy.
Okay, all right. And any upside to that target that you had of 35% growth this year? Also, the average selling price per watch, that'll get a bit of an uptick, right? Because these watches are far more expensive. Even if we sell in a few in a year, it'll help the overall average. So where do you see that number headed, average selling price per watch?
Yeah, so the average selling price has moved from about 75,000 to now about 1.6 lakhs over the last 4 years. We expect it to continue to go, to increase, but not in the...
All right. Seems like we are out of luck when it comes to keeping a safe, smooth connection with Mr. Saboo. No, we'll try to, speak to him on another occasion, but for now, we have the fact that he's holding on to his revenue guidance, 28, 29% exclusive share coming in. These are higher gross margin business, primarily because it's exclusive brands as well. And they're also looking at, increasing the average selling price.
Well, that's right. Bottom of your screen, Finance Ministry has proposed issuance of composite insurance licenses. So the ones